Très heureuse de vous retrouver à l'écran de l'actualité. Madame, Messieurs, bonsoir. C'est l'heure du Prime News sur My Media Prime Television. Nous ouvrons ce journal et l'ouverture de la session parlementaire du mois de mars 2021 qui s'est justement tenue hier à l'hôtel des députés à Yaoundé au milieu de la recrudescence du Covid-19 a permis ou alors a conduit l'Assemblée nationale à prendre des mesures préventives. Les différents accidents de circulation survenus au Cameroun ainsi que la crise économique, la crise socio-économique était à l'ordre du jour. C'est un reportage que nous propose Fon Quinta.
Cameroon's eldest member of Senate, Fon Victor Mokete, has urged senators to ensure the preservation of peace in the country and shun hatred, rejection and stigmatization, as he holds those traits have no traces handed by our ancestors.
Rejection by one another and stigmatization have no place within the heritage handed down to us by our ancestors with regard to the spirit and the demands of life in the society within a state as ours, which is moving positively towards emergence by 2035.
He was speaking at the opening of the first ordinary session of the 2021 legislative year of the Senate, attended by Prime Minister and Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph John Guti. During the 2021 legislative year, focus will be on road safety, following numerous deadly accidents on our highways, development of health infrastructure, the fight against COVID-19 pandemic, and equally the Anglophone crisis. Meanwhile, parliamentarians meeting for the first ordinary session of the National Assembly for the year 2021, presided at by the eldest member of the National Assembly, Honorable Laurentine Bembe Koa. A session which marks the new legislative year of the National Assembly, just like the Senate focused on heightened insecurity, deadly road accidents, amongst others. The opening of the 2021 sessions both saw the strict respect of COVID-19 barrier measures as senators and parliamentarians had their face mask on, and equally respect for social distancing.
Le Centre pour les droits de l'homme et de la démocratie en Afrique a publié un rapport sur les multiples atrocités perpétrées dans les régions du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest afin de rechercher des solutions durables pour résoudre les tensions dans ces régions. C'est un reportage de Noraka Kebi.
The Center for Human Rights and Democracy for Africa, CHEDA, has documented the massive rights violation and abuses by both the military and separatist fighters in the troubled English-speaking regions of Cameroon. It should be noted that between 2020 and 2021, both the security forces and separatists in the restive regions have grossly violated and abused human rights in different dimensions. In its publication, CHEDA notes the merciless killing, burning, torture, harassment, intimidation, and wanton shootings, including other aspects of gross human rights violations carried out by the so-called restoration forces.
The report focuses on events from October 2020 to February 2021, and in the report we documented some of the atrocities such as extrajudicial executions, arbitrary arrests and illegal detentions, torture, retaliatory attacks on schools and villages, wanton destruction of property, as well as harassment and extortion of the population.
According to CHEDA, the separatists have wasted the lives of many people, such as the traditional rulers in a Esau village in the Bialem division in the southwest region, whose only crime was that they were performing their civic responsibilities to the nation by participating in the regional elections. In addition to the unending list of the gruesome acts perpetrated by the boys, popularly known as Amber Boys, Cameroonians have not forgotten about the 7 students of the Mother Francisca International Bilingual School in Kumba, who were killed in the most gruesome murder and left the nation in utter shock and disbelief. The Bala Rights Organization has equally documented atrocities carried out by the Cameroon military on civilian population. CHEDA said, apart from torturing civilians, The Defense Force has equally adopted method of indiscriminate shooting of people and burning down houses. With the alleged atrocities committed by both separatists and military, Cheda is calling on the government to carry out proper inquiry into the root causes of the crisis. It should be noted that the government had set up an inquiry to investigate the famous Ngarbu massacre and perpetrators held accountable, which is a good step in the right direction in seeking lasting peace.
When the Ngarbu massacre was committed last year, February 14, the government of Cameroon set up a committee which investigated the atrocity, and some members of the defense and security forces were identified, and they are facing trial in Yaoundé now. And we think that it is a good step towards ensuring accountability and for the rule of law to take precedence. We recommended to the government to ensure that every other atrocity committed against the civilian population from the start of the crisis till date should be investigated.
The rights organization strongly condemns the atrocities of both the separatists and defense forces of the country and call on government to continue seeking ways to find lasting solutions.
Le communiqué du ministre de l'Éducation de base, le professeur Nalova Lyonga, publié ce 4 mars 2021, compte tenu de la recrudescence du Covid-19, semble inquiéter les autorités scolaires. Une annonce stipulant que les élèves ainsi que l'ensemble des personnels des établissements scolaires seront systématiquement testés au Covid-19. Je vous propose de suivre ce reportage de Dolingonde.
Early this week, Minister Nalova Lyonga, the secondary education buzz, took to sampling the realities pertaining the systematic COVID-19 testing. Professor Nalova Lyonga officially launched the systematic COVID-19 testing in secondary schools by putting herself and her entourage as examples for stakeholders to emulate. But how welcoming is this decree to school authorities?
It is very true that the COVID-19 is very troublesome in Cameroon and the whole world. And what the minister, Professor Nalova Lyonga, said about testing of students, teachers and administration is a very welcome idea. But we have a worry when the children are tested in school. What happens if the children go to the market, they go to shops and so on? Does it mean that the children will be tested maybe regularly?
On the other hand, are the schools also ready, given that no laid-down rules have been stipulated towards the free acquisition of the COVID-19 testing kits?
We are actually ready at any time that they want to come and do testing, just like we are doing HIV/AIDS. But our worry is that if testing is done maybe in the boarding school and the children go for vacation, when they come back for vacation, will they still be tested again?
Dr. Hans Bukwe Itwe is the principal of the Presbyterian Secondary School, PSS Douala, and says for this exercise to be carried out, parents to the children under his jurisdiction must be made aware. But the chances of calling on a general PTA meeting are slim, given the stakes of contamination.
It is very true, just like HIV/AIDS, we must seek consent of parents first before anything can be done to somebody's child. Because it would be very wrong for you to test somebody's child without a consent.
So far, PSS Douala has not recorded any symptomatic and asymptomatic cases, thanks to their rigorosity, the principal once more.
We here, we are very, very rigorous. We have respected all the barrier measures given by the government. The children every day will test their temperature on a daily basis, and of course we disinfect their toilets, their dormitories on a daily basis, and that is why up to this moment we have not registered any case.
Meanwhile, the principal also uses this platform to assure parents of their children's safety. With the strict compliance of COVID-19 barrier measures, the control against COVID-19 is a reality in this institution, as every child must be in possession of a face mask, hand sanitizer, while maintaining at least a 1.5 meter social distancing from peers and others. However, reading through the ministerial communique, many comments streamed online, with many worried about the efficiency of this control methodology.
Des mesures visant à assurer la bonne gestion du budget de l'État et l'organe de la collecte des recettes dans les 10 régions du Cameroun a été mis en place dans la région du Sud-Ouest. Ces mesures ont été présentées en présence des comptables du Trésor de la région du Sud-Ouest. Je vous propose de suivre ce reportage de Clarisse Ekowe.
The 2021 financial law in Cameroon, which aims at boosting revenue collection across the 10 regions, as well as ensure the proper management of state funds, has been made known to these accountants drawn from the Southwest region. The measures were disclosed during this one-day seminar that held in Buea, with the objective to evaluate the nomenclature of the Treasury accounts for the year 2021.
Everybody has done his work, and I want to congratulate my collaborators in the field. Today we have come for the seminar on the nomenclature so that we can give them the tool how to execute the budget 2021 and also to tell them about the innovation in the financial law, in the secular, so that everything by the end of the year will be okay.
Chaired by the Treasury Paymaster of the Southwest region, Basi Anyanyas, measures that have been instituted takes into consideration the modernization of Treasury network in Cameroon. Thus, the new financial law will prohibit accountants from directly trading with money in a bid to ensure transparency.
Yes, as you know, the Chief Head Commission coming from Yaoundé gave a lot of orientation at the level of the new law, the law on the finance law, and the secular. You heard that the collection henceforth will be done only by mass transfer. It's one of the measures so that the state funds should be safe.
With the obvious challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing Anglophone crisis, Eric Ayong affirms that the measures will go a long way to address mismanagement of state funds, which has become the order of the day.
Everything is going to be done through bank transfer. That is what will avoid transportation of funds by the taxpayers and the service provider. That is a fundamental one. And then secondly, they also talk about the payments of the contractualization of rents and the rest. I think everything that has been said concerns the Southwest as any other region of the country.
At the end of the seminar, these stakeholders involved in the management of state funds were enjoined to abide to the new financial law in Cameroon in a bid to boost revenue collection for the Southwest region.
Et toujours dans le sud-ouest, la première édition du Salon des femmes africaines, entrepreneurs et émergentes a connu un succès. Ce salon international qui a duré 3 jours a vu la participation de femmes camerounaises à Limbé, avait pour objectif d'aider et d'éduquer autres femmes dans la commercialisation de produits à l'échelle internationale. Plus de détails avec Kouma Honoré.
The economic lockdown caused by COVID-19 pandemic has caused untold hardship to the world, such as fall in production, salary cuts, unemployment, businesses shut down, and countries restricted in international trading. Across the world today, many women have lost their jobs, with many concentrated in low-paid jobs with extremely vulnerable forms of employment. Indeed, COVID-19 has dramatically increased the poverty rate for women and widened the gap between men and women who live in abject poverty. It is against this backdrop that the Women's Orientation Group, through the Ministry of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise, Social Economy and Handicraft, organized the first ever African Women Emerging Entrepreneurs Marketplace with the objective to catapult the handicraft sector into industrial markets, giving opportunities to women to encourage them emerge as entrepreneurs, taking into consideration that women constitute 75% of the handicraft traders and manufacturers in the world. Addressing participants drawn from Cameroon and Nigeria, the CEO of Women's Orientation Group, who doubles as the vision bearer of the Awis Marketplace, Madame Kedlikeya Floritia, said that Awis Marketplace is a platform for women all over the world to showcase and exchange their products for consumers to buy. She added that the Awis Marketplace is an innovative hub and not the customary trade fair.
On this year's edition, we are doing clustering in textile industry, where we'll be expecting women to come up with textile industries to produce fashion clothes from Cameroonian origin that can be sold all over Africa.
The second phase of the forum witnessed a workshop where participants were grouped into clusters according to their areas of specializations, as well as a marketing platform identified for them to sell their products.
The impact has really been felt as many people from in and out of Cameroon has been able to come here and get products and as well discover new products which were not on the market but are found specifically here.
Present to launch open the first edition of the Awis Marketplace was the divisional officer for Limbe 1 subdivision, Acha Gilbert Quenti, who said that the Ministry of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise, Social Economy and Handicraft has been working tirelessly on developmental strategies to revamp the sector within its competence away from the coronavirus pandemic, considering the stake it has on creativity. He thanked the director of the Regional Handicraft Center for hosting the event, an eloquent testimony of the ministries aligning words with action in a bid to ensure that craftsmen and women have the necessary visibility they require.
Et dans l'est du pays, alors que la ville de Bertoua se développe à grande vitesse, la commune de Bertoua a reconstruit le marché central, principal lieu de ravitaillement de l'Est, à ceci avec la collaboration des populations. Le reportage de Jean Didier.
Avec le boom démographique qu'a connu la ville de Bertoua et l'avènement de la communauté urbaine, qui a vu sa population passer du simple au double, il était nécessaire pour les pouvoirs publics de revoir le dispositif de ravitaillement et d'approvisionnement de la ville de Bertoua. Le marché moderne de Nkolbikon, don spécial du chef de l'État, son Excellence Paul Biya aux populations de la région de l'Est, et la réfection du marché central de Bertoua, fruit de la colonisation. C'est ce dernier qui nous intéresse ce jour. Rénové aujourd'hui à plus de 50%, ces ruelles affichent aujourd'hui un visage plus avenant, avec la construction de nombreuses boutiques qui font aujourd'hui la fierté des commerçants.
Maintenant, mon petit-fils est à l'ombre. Il n'y a plus le soleil sur lui, ni la pluie. Quand il a sommeil, maintenant, je le couche à bas. Avant, il était sur le comptoir, les comptoirs. Maintenant, là, l'enfant n'était pas à l'aise. Donc, je me sens moins bien.
La collaboration entre la mairie de la ville et les jeunes investisseurs du marché est le fruit de cette métamorphose. Le processus est simple. La mairie de la ville met des parcelles de terrain à la disposition des investisseurs commerçants, pour la plupart, qui construisent des boutiques et les remettent à la mairie pour usage moyennant un pourcentage.
Par rapport à cette nouvelle équipe, c'est un train de grande vitesse. Ils sont prêts. Moi, je leur donne les mains. Parce que ce maire de ville et son équipe, vous allez vous-même constater, il y a tellement de changements en ville. Il y a tellement de changements. La ville grandit à grande échelle. C'est exceptionnel. Même dans toutes les villes, les grandes métropoles, je n'ai pas encore vu ça. Mais tu vas prendre la rue du train à grande vitesse. On peut dire le métro supérieur. Ça va vite.
Bon à savoir, le marché central de Bertoua, créé dans les années d'indépendance, est le principal point de ravitaillement de la ville de Bertoua et de la région de l'Est. Il bénéficie déjà jusqu'à ce jour plus de 800 boutiques construites par des particuliers et ceci pour la plus grande joie des commerçants.
Et dans notre page santé, chaque 7 au 13 mars, c'est la semaine de sensibilisation à la sécurité des patients. La célébration de cette année sous le thème « Meilleur ensemble et en sécurité » a pour but de promouvoir des mesures de portée mondiale pour améliorer la sécurité des patients. Je vous propose de suivre ce reportage de Bokengo Wode.
Amid the coronavirus pandemic, patient safety awareness is more vital than before. With new sufferers of COVID-19 and other diseases, a patient's safety at all times is most paramount. Patient safety awareness is a global health campaign which serves to raise awareness regarding health facilities in which patients find themselves on a daily. Approximately 3 in every 5 patients becomes a victim or dies due to poor condition of the health facilities they find themselves in, untrained health personnel as well as caregivers.
World Patient Safety Day is dedicated to the safety of health workers. To mark the day, WHO is launching a charter on health worker safety, which we invite all countries, hospitals, clinics, and partners to implement. No country, hospital, or clinic can keep its patients safe unless it keeps its health workers safe. Now, more than ever, we have a duty to give health workers the safe working conditions, the training, the pay, and the respect they deserve.
According to the World Health Organization, patient safety is a serious global public health concern as yearly 2.6 million people lose their lives due to unsafe care and adverse events that occur in the hospital, especially with the COVID-19 in play.
If it's not safe, it's not care. One of the keys to keeping patients safe is keeping health workers safe. The COVID-19 pandemic has reminded all of us of the vital role health workers play to relieve suffering and save lives. Around 14% of COVID-19 cases reported to WHO are among health workers, and in some countries it's as much as 35%.
This year's campaign seeks to educate and promote patient safety practices by encouraging governments, health NGOs, and private health practitioners to invest more in their health facilities, employ trained personnel and nurses, and make available advanced medical equipment for a better, stronger, and safer health care.
Et en sport, le nouveau président de la Confédération africaine du football est connu. Patrice Motsepe, le milliardaire sud-africain, a été élu ce vendredi 12 mars à l'issue de l'Assemblée générale élective organisée à Rabat, c'est au Maroc. À 59 ans, il devient donc ainsi le 8e président de l'histoire de la CAF. And on to this information worthy of note, registration into the Yaoundé-based ICT University of Cameroon has effectively started. The Cameroonian University of Information and Communication Technologies, one of the best with a typically American curriculum, provides face-to-face and online courses following a defined and well-established program. The registration process, which kicked off yesterday, is set to run for a week, permitting students wishing to register and those who could not register online to suit the required documents. For more information, visit the website www.ictuniversity.edu.com. Madame, Messieurs, c'est tout pour l'édition de ce jour qui a été coordonnée par Fête Tata. À la production, Ewane Elai Nolinga. Restez scotchés car tout de suite, vous aurez comme Lionel et ses panélistes dans quelques instants pour Prime Art. Bonsoir.